Hi, everyone. Welcome to Discover Interior Design's podcast. And with me today is artist Toks Agosu with Northwind Illustrations, who is going to share his process behind his wonderful artwork, his wall art, his cushions, and also accent pillows that he creates. So welcome, Toks.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Carol.
I'm so
Thank you.
glad that you're here. And Toks, please just take a moment, if you can, to tell us a little about yourself and how Northwind Illustrations began.
Right. I started Northwind Illustration not as a business plan or something that I had conceived in my mind before, but it was a time that I was going through lots of transitions in my life, from moving from England to Canada, family bereavement, and end of dream job. So the only thing I could do that could give me a bit of structure and sanity was basically drop off kids to school and then go walking to begin my day. And I started scribbling, and I walk around the trail here right here in Vancouver. I just spend that time to find some form of stability for myself. And I discovered that, well, I can doodle away. And that was how it started. And then over time, it then began to look like a body of work that I could actually share with other people. That's how it started. It wasn't like a big moment. I think I'm just going to be creating a lot of artwork. No, it didn't start like that for me. Yeah.
I think that's really wonderful, just how you used art to kind of just process life, maybe, I think
Yeah, that's basically what it was. Looking back, that's what it was. But at that time, it was like a survival tool for me because I could remember where I used to work in the creative industry. All I do is doing wireframe and scribbling and putting structure to ideas. And I carried that on after those big life events. And I thought, you know what? I could sit down and just sketch and sort of map where I'm at in my life journey. And then I walk around in nature. I see things. I thought, I could sketch that. So it was all done privately, like a secret thing I do by myself with no one interfering in
Yeah.
my, yeah.
Oh, that's a really nice story. Thanks for sharing that. That is really, really neat. Can you maybe share more information about the beginning stage before your brand Northwind Illustrations came about, and what was happening in your life creatively?
So I would say I was not the extent of my creativity uh, growing up only extended as far as playing the piano and then probably writing. I did that for quite a while. I was never drawn to art. I couldn't understand it for a long time because I just couldn't connect with what people were doing.
Mhm.
So for me, my safety net was, well, I can scribble. And I remember very well starting with stick man, trying to put my ideas down. And then from there, I can always go back to it as a reference point. And then I was going to add more things to it. So gradually, I began to realize, oh, I could draw a tree. Okay, well, I could draw a tree by myself. Okay, I could do this. And my challenge was in my mind, I was trying to draw these things and present them in ways I think it would be publicly acceptable, if I can use that phrase.
Mhm.
And it was when a friend of mine came to our house and I took them to my study space and I said, well, yeah, I'm, playing out with some artwork. And the lady said, oh, wow, this is interesting. I'm like, really? So, and I said, well, I bought a book on how to draw and this is what I'm doing. I said, well, that is not you. This one here is really you. I'm like, all right, okay, I'll take down, I'll take down book. So the friend really affirmed what I would now call my style, which at the time I never understood what that meant because I don't have any art training as a background story to being in the art field. So I felt, okay, you know what, I'll keep exploring. And every day I do that. I go about, drop off the child to school, and go walking and look around and sketch and enjoy that moment. And then come back to the house and then carry on with my day. So, and I could only do that because of it became a form of comfort for me because it was during the time that one of my kids passed away and my dad
Mhm.
passed away. The job was no longer there. So it was a difficult time for us as a family. So my own path of processing the grief and processing all that was through that. And
Mhm.
only with hindsight I can say that, but it was very, very dark time. Yeah. My pen and
Mhm.
paper was my leading light to be able to understand what's going on. Yeah.
Oh gosh. Okay. Thanks for sharing that. I I think it's really interesting and wonderful just how you kind of maybe trust that process. And also, I love how you kind of almost found your voice or had someone kind of say, Toks, this is you and not this style. And for you to just kind of keep going on your direction, in your direction. And
Yeah.
so that's really meaningful. That's very neat. Thanks for sharing that.
That's
Um,
all.
so, Tokes, it feels like your work is quiet and intentional, and that the process or routine of creating is just as important as the end product or design is. So,
Yeah.
could you take us through the process of how a piece usually starts for you?
Yeah. So the piece starts by basically I head out to a trail and I'll try and put words to the process. So when I'm walking, is either I just see a scene right in the same place where everyone is walking around, and I get excited. And I'm thinking, why are people seeing what I'm seeing here? This is just so full of life. And people just walk past. I'm like, wow. So there is a connection visually for me. And as I'm walking, it's like therapeutic as well. Clears my mind. I can see the larger picture of things and then as well as focus on the little details as well. So I have always carry a pad and pen with me. And I'll just stop by there and I'll just scribble away, capture the moment, make some side notes. Probably, okay, I'm walking at McGill Park in Burnaby, and then it's today's date. Okay, probably I could hear some birds singing. I write birds singing, sunny day, and then I move on. And as I'm walking day through that time, I keep seeing more things and I just keep capturing those images. And then I take it back home and I just put it down. And in my office to leave it there, I'm thinking, well, I will leave it open. So when I walk into my space, I'm like, oh, yeah, this is interesting. I begin to see what's in the artwork, what the interpretation could be. And then I will then move it onto our computer and basically tidy up the lines, take off excessive lines, and then save the artwork, and then leave it there. At times it can be for weeks. At times it can just be like I've forgotten about it. Before I then come to terms of adding color to that particular artwork. So when I then add the color to particular artwork, then I then decide, well, okay, well, will this fit on a cushion or will this sit on the wall? So that the story behind it at times dictates where it goes. So at times I put it on a cushion thinking, well, yeah, it's a form of comfort because cushion for me is like it symbolizes all the comfort and the support that I actually received during my difficult time from people. And I thought, everyone needs comfort. So I use a premium service to put those artwork on the cushion and then get it sent out to wherever they need to go, whoever orders it. So that's basically the process. Yeah, it's very simple. And I always say to myself, I don't make it complicated at all because the more complicated it becomes, it takes away the joy of doing what I do. And that's basically the steps I follow. Yeah.
Okay, that is a very neat process. Thanks for sharing that because it's always kind of interesting to hear how it starts and then how it ends up on something that we could have in our home. So that's a very neat. And um, it sounds like, yeah, walking and noticing things is really important to you. And also, what I notice about your work is that there is a lot of movement. Line, yeah, line seems to be a very important feature in or element in your artwork,
Yeah.
and also color. So, can you talk more about that?
So the lines that like my own emotional language, my kids they'll say, "Oh yeah, it's all scribbling around," but it's just part of me. So the line basically helps me to express the spontaneity of the moment when I discover something out there and I'm sketching. That is what some of those lines carry. And at times it can look all clustered. That is revealing at times some of the deep thinking that is going on, at times unconsciously to myself. Or if I'm walking, I feel, wow, I like the feel of the wind at the time that I'm sketching. And some of these things, talking about it now, but in the moment of it, honestly, I don't actually think in that process. I'm just capturing things as they're going along. And when I look back, I think, oh right, wow, that's true. That was actually the emotion of the moment I was in when I was sketching,
Yeah.
carrying out the artwork, drawing the lines. So the line comes first. And I always remind myself that, well, everything started first before computers, before anything else, all started on pen and paper. You put the pen to paper, you're able to transfer your ideas or knowledge to paper. Then the tools comes afterwards, which is the computers, then the colors, and then I then write the stories around that particular artwork. Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. I think that, yeah, the lines, how you express those lines, right, evokes a certain emotion, I think, in your artwork. And then when you are deciding on colors, how do you go about doing that?
So for me, the colors they in mind, and I always write it down. There are a couple of pillars that guides the my color choices. I always say, my artwork's mission is to evoke a sense of hope as well as joy and inspiration and a sense of
Mhm,
comfort.
mhm,
So those on the guides the colors that I choose for my artwork. Um, because I felt these reflect the excitement that I have within me whenever I hit the trail and I'm walking, I'm seeing, I just see, I just see the nature and the whole beauty that is in there. And the only way to communicate those things is to carefully choose the colors that will go with it and that will also support the story of that particular artwork. Yeah, so yeah, I don't rush into the coloring. I take my time, and I must say at times I do use what's called books around colors, just to be able to have ideas to
mhm.
find the right what's it called color palette, so that it's in harmony and it's not like conflicting colors. Yeah, so yeah, but
Okay,
it's the fun part of the process too. I just enjoy it. I just enjoy doing it. It's
yeah.
like yeah.
Oh, very neat, very neat. It's neat to hear about that, and I love the concept that you mentioned that you want to kind of create this joyful and comforting look. And so, I think all of us want some more of that in our homes. You know what I mean? So those colors and your designs
Yeah.
really create that feeling for us, I think. And so Talks, can
Yeah.
you take us through the process of one of your designs and kind of walk us through that process? You kind of mentioned part of your process before, but if there's like a design that you could take us through that from sketch until where you start to add color to it.
Yeah, I think the one that that I've shared that will show up on the screen was actually uh, captured. I would say I was walking in a park. I think it's McGill Park in Burnaby, Vancouver. That's like it's like lots of trees, and then it's sort of like an entrance. You probably see it on the screen. So that day, I remember vividly, I was just walking. As I was walking through the trail, I'm like, I just see this sense of coziness in that particular scene. And I could see that wow, all the trees, everything seems to be, you know, coming in together. And I'm thinking, well, there must be an exit through all this as well. So that was the process going in my mind.
Mhm.
And then I said, you know what, I'm gonna give it a try. So I just sketched it and just sketched it on the go. And I was like, I hope I get this right. And at the end of it, I just, okay, that's why I'm done. But when I took it home thinking, wow, right, this actually communicate exactly what
Mhm.
I was thinking. It's like you're going through time and you're walking through this trail, and at the same time, there's a space for you to get out as well, out of this set into I would say probably a different dimension depending on how you look at it. But that was what was going on uh, in my mind. Then then I just take a picture of it and put it through my computer and then clean it up and there we go. So I hope I answered your question properly now. No, I've not drifted off. I'm not sure.
No, that's perfect. That's perfect. So how long is that process, say, from the very beginning of a sketch to where you add color to it? Like, how long does that usually take?
I would say at times it might take me a week, and I say that because while I'm capturing in a day, I might have up to like 7 or 10 sketches, depending on where I am. At times I'm driving, I see things I park and I sketch. So I just have like a lot of sketches in a day. And then that means I need to clean all that up and I need to go through it. So at times I just take like a week to do one, or at times it might be 2 days, at times maybe 3 days, depending on how the sense of urgency to do it. Though I tend to take my time with it and just leave it because I feel when I come back to it and I see things I've not seen before, and I enjoy that process. I try not to rush it because I'm thinking, these are precious moments that I'm capturing, and I need to be able to share that with people. I was called in a way that will evoke or communicate the whole experience of creating the artwork. Yeah.
Wonderful. Okay. Thanks for letting us know about that. That's very neat. So, Toks, addition to your drawings,
Yeah.
you also create what you like to call functional pieces, like art cushions for our sofas, chairs, and beds.
Yeah.
Beds. So, what draws you to that transition to have your art as home furnishings?
Yeah. So I chose the cushions or home furnishing because one, the backstory that led me down this road, actually, I felt the only thing that could communicate the true story is actually using a cushion as a primary medium, not disregarding wall art. That's a standard thing. But for me, I begin to go back and think through the comfort that I received from people, from my community, and the whole sense of being in a safe space where I could just be myself and cry if I had to cry because of the grief that I was going through. And when I look around at times when there's no one, I felt, well, looking back, I think the only thing I had around me was cushions in my office space. And I
Yeah.
will sit and I always hold onto the cushion, and to make it fun, I still have a cushion right here by my
Yeah.
side. Just
Yeah.
that
Great.
is like what drew me to it, because I was thinking, well, do I want to create all this art and put it on the wall, or where is it going to go? And that moment came thinking, wait a minute, there is a message behind the artwork. And that message needs to be communicated somehow to be able to transfer that on. And that's why I chose cushions, then wall art. And
Mhm.
and at the same time, I feel like, art should be accessible to people. They just don't
Mhm.
see it on the wall.
Mhm.
And those are some of the foundational reasons why I go for the cushions. And I leave the door open for those that want it on the wall as well. Yeah. So the story that led me down that road uh, actually helped me decide what the primary medium will be. So yeah, so there's that continuation really from the story to the object, then to the end user. Basically, everyone has cushion at home, and we throw them around, we kick them around, we hug them,
Yeah.
and they don't talk back, but it's comfort
Yeah.
that is always there. Yeah.
That is perfect. I think what a natural way of creating something like that. And I like the idea that it's approachable, that it's not just something on a wall. That's another beautiful way to have art, but in the traditional way. But to have something approachable and right that we can hold on to and lean up against, and I think that is just opening up that world of bringing art into our homes, and that emotional part of it where we can actually feel comforted by those cushions or accent pillows. That's very nice, Toks. That's very nice. So let's see. When you mention kind of about both the functional art, the cushions and accent pillows, as well as our wall art, sorry. Tell us what you think about the concept of art living in someone's home, not just on a wall. So can you expand on that a little bit more?
Yeah, so for me, when art actually enters a home, I think they do become part of the rhythm of the home, and they carry the story behind the artwork, whatever the story might be. And I think we need to connect with those stories somehow so that that art is meaningful in the space that we're putting it. So because if it doesn't connect with you emotionally, then it's just a space filler. It's there. And I've been in situations like that whereby I just put there, well, it's something to hang on the wall so that the room is not empty. But then the reality is you spend a lot of time in there. And at times, it's good to surround ourselves with stories, with the things that really reminds us of whether it's a new season in our life, and there's a piece of artwork that helps us to remember those moments. So they add more life to our inner world. So that is basically how I see it working. But for people that love to have art on the wall, it's still the same, but they might experience it differently. Probably because they see it visually. Or if people like to hold it, touch it, which you can do with walls, you have the same thing with a cushion. Yeah.
Right.
So it's important to choose what speaks to you, what you connect with emotionally, and have it in your space.
So I think that's spot on just about artwork. I think it's really just such an important part of our homes. And so I love that idea of choosing artwork that resonates with us, and it just becomes a part of our lives every day. So that whether it's a cushion of yours on our sofa or a wall art, it becomes an important part of our home, making our home a home. So that's really important. Yeah.
Right.
So you mentioned throughout our interview here, the importance of story, and so that artwork just isn't about decoration. That is actually there's a deeper meaning behind everything. And so, what part of the story behind the work feels most important for you to share?
I think for me is the human story behind the artwork. My artwork, they're actually from a lived moment. And I think that is what connects with people. And because at times I listen to kids talking, I listen to people talking, I listen to how they structure the stories. As in, it's always anchored either in a place, in a moment, and things like that. So when I think of the stories around the artwork, I anchor them around either a place, a moment, or things like that. And it's coming from a place, it's not coming from a place of sadness, but it's coming from a place where you feel, okay, yeah, probably I've been there before. All right, it brings back good memories around that place. Then it's just like a little bit of a buzz for whoever receives that, and
Mhm.
basically helps them to take the next step wherever they are going or whatever they're doing. So those stories are important because you can remember it and then connect it with an object and connect with a moment in time that you've actually been part of. Yeah.
I think that's really wonderful how you explain that. And there's this, so there's something in the artwork, in the story behind it that
Yeah.
we can relate to, so that it just becomes a deeper connection, in a way. So thanks for sharing that. Um, when we are speaking about your stories, I also want to mention that on the posts of your Substack,
Yeah.
that and also on your website, your descriptions for your artwork and your cushions on your store, that I noticed that the stories are just as important as the artwork, and it just adds this deeper meaning, and it's very, very wonderful. It's like poetry, Toks. It's this other level of, you want all of that to go, it just becomes part of the artwork. And so I think that's a very neat thing that you do.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
And I am noticing, or what I want to ask you next is, when we are speaking about the story behind your art, is there a particular piece that you'd like to talk about that carries a clear memory or meaning for you?
Yeah, I think the one that you probably show on the screen shortly, that's like the blue one, what looks like a bit of a tunnel, then like a gate, and then there's a floor, and there's a bit of there's a yellow color on the floor. Uh, I would say that's like my personal story of my journey into the art world, because I remember sketching these, and I've had it for more than a month when I first sketched it, and I've forgotten about it. And then while I was thinking of writing, uh, you know, my story or my journey, how can I actually visually present that or share that? And this actually just captured the whole thing. It's like the emotions that evokes in me. I would say that's the yellow on the floor, the sense of emotion. And then when I'm out there sketching, basically the doors open and you're out there in the on the trail or wherever that might be, and there's just so much abundance and there's so much inspiration that comes, and that picture evokes it basically communicates the joy and the fun that I experience, the freedom that I have when I'm going out there and I'm out there sketching and just doing what I do. So that always comes to mind, and I have it hanging on the wall, not on a cushion, but on the wall in my office. So I look at it and think, yeah, I'm going back out there today and I'm going to do some more artwork. So yeah, that's one of my favorite artwork. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Thanks for sharing that. I can see and hear it in your voice, that joy, and so that excitement. And so that is very neat to hear that from you. So
Okay.
looking ahead, what feels quietly exciting for you right now?
Ah, yeah, but lots of things are exciting is happening. And it's basically, I'll share it this way, that I enjoy doing lots of my sketches outdoors because I'm walking and seeing things, I'm going to places I've never been before. And I enjoy doing that from throughout spring, summer, then comes autumn and winter. I was, my goodness, what am I going to do with myself? I won't be able to create the art and just do that. So I either focus on writing, or then I'll be thinking, well, if the weather is good, I'll go out. Then 2024, it just dawned on me when I woke up one. I'm thinking, well, there's lots of frost uh, on the car. What can I do with this? Okay, I'm just gonna pop out and try this out. So I went onto the frost on the window of the car, and I'm just gonna draw on this thing and just draw into the frost. Took a picture of it, I didn't have any specific idea in my mind, but just thought I'm going to test this out and see what I come up with. So I did that. And that was the moment winters changed for me. It becomes like, whoa, there's still more stuff to do during winter time. So I took a picture of what I sketched and then looked at it. And honestly, I was shocked, thinking there was no way I could have done this if I'm walking out on the trail. So the frost became another medium for me to actually create what I need to create. And the fact that it disappears after a while, you can't go back and recreate that moment. It's
Yeah.
gone. So that is exciting. And I've had from there this year, I've created quite a lot, which I'm walking through, of Frost series of artwork, which I will share later on, but it's quite a lot. So I'm going to walk through that and write the stories around it. And it's exciting. That makes me feel thinking now I have something I can do throughout the year. Winter is not going to stop me.
No.
There is still more to do. Yeah. So that's exciting. Yeah.
That was brilliant. Toks, I think it takes an artist to even notice that, because I think we can all relate to, if we live in areas where we get snow and frost, that it's just get this frost off the windshield. And so I think it takes an artist's eye to even see that as an opportunity to draw something in there. And as you said, that just because it's winter, it doesn't have to stop you from seeing those opportunities to create art. So I think that is just brilliant. So I think that's very exciting. So Toks, thank you so much for bringing us into your world of being an artist and your process where you're out in nature sketching things and then creating these pieces of art that we can bring into our home and live with. So I think that's just brilliant. So I wanted to find out from you if you could let us know where we can look at your artwork and choose something for our home. What is your online store website?
Yeah, my online store website is nwindart.com. nwindart.com. That's where my store is online. And then I have a Substack channel, is nwind.substack.com, where I share the stories behind some of this artwork, as well as some of the processes that I go through before people actually see the finished product. So those are the two channels where people can connect with me. Yeah.
Okay. Wonderful. And then on your store, where do you ship to?
Yeah, on my store, I ship to UK, US, and Canada. Those are the three places I do for them at the moment. So yeah, those are the three countries I focus on for now. Yeah.
Okay.
So no, yeah.
Okay. Wonderful. And I will leave the links to all of those, to the store and to the Substack. And so in case any of our listeners want to check those out, those links will be in this description. So I want to just thank you again, Toks, for meeting with me today and chatting about your artwork and just how important your artwork is to helping us create the home that we want to be in and that we want to feel comforted and joyful in. So I just want to thank you for being here today and chatting with me about that.
Thank you too, Carol, for having me. Thank you for being a fan of my work. Thank you. I appreciate it.
For sure. So thanks everyone for listening, and I look forward to seeing everyone again next time when we have another podcast from Discover Interior Design. Take care.
Thank you. Yeah. Bye all.